Hello and welcome to the latest video in the series of Steal This Design. In this video, we're going to talk about Fay.com, which is my absolute favorite website. In this series, basically, we try to drill down a lot of great looking websites with great micro interactions and layouts, and we try to learn from them, not to steal it and re-implement it, but to learn from the best people over the internet. This website is called Fay.com. Let's have a look at what makes Fay different and how it stands out from the rest. All right, so this is Fay.com website. Now, this is my absolute favorite because it leverages a lot of scroll animations. So if you see, if I browse this website, I scroll over here, you see these micro interactions, really tasteful. I love them. Now this is a scroll animation. Now this totally reacts to your scroll. There is parallax because this moves faster and the background moves slower. So there is some parallax. Great set of colors, great set of micro interactions. For example, this spinner that you see, great looking thing right over there. Tasteful icons. Again, good hierarchy of fonts. I love this font, man. And the body font is also nice. Again, simple, tasteful. Hover interactions. Once I hover, there are scroll animations and things like these. Now look at it. If I hover over here, this little thing that animates. Now you don't have to do it, but the designer and the developer went ahead and did it. Shows that they put in so much of time and effort into their craft, and hence these small little interactions makes this website stand out. It is my absolute favorite. And if you remember the component called MacBook Scroll on Eternity, actually this was inspired from one of their initial animations wherein they had this keyboard right over here. I went ahead and did it myself with JSX, but this is how they did it. Again, great animations, great micro interactions. If you hover over to the nav bar, you see the left and the top shadows makes it stand out. The iteration or the stagger animation is also cool. And if you look at this button, it has got shades from the bottom and the top. These are box shadows basically that you can also recreate. But the thing that we are going to create today is called this animation. If I hover over it, it shows some card. The rest translates into the X direction. I hover out, it goes off. And also if I hover, you see this text, which is sort of masked when I hover over a card. That is also crazy looking. Now I'm a huge fan of these cards and we are going to create this. But if you hover, you see there are so many scroll animations right over here because this is directly hooked onto use scroll from motion. This makes it look really, really good. This is what we are going to create today. Not this, but this simple animation took me a lot of time to create actually, because if we drill down, but first let's take a look at what makes Fay stand out from the rest. One is a lot of scroll animations. Two, micro interaction. Like I said, if you look at this is a micro interaction. Now this is really cool. Any animation that you see right here won't be easily available on any other website because they really care about design, and everything here speaks of polish. So highly polished, this website is highly polished. Again, if you look at any of the page right over here, or if you go to students, you see this animation. Again, highly polished, waits for the user to do it. And then it is also a mix of dark and light mode, which makes it stand out. And again, beautiful duotone box shadows. If you look at the button, two tones. Again, here if on the drop down, there is also a pinch of box shadow, which is on the top and the left, gives a depth. And you'll see once you start creating this component, you'll see what level of craft they're working at. Without any further delay, let's get right into the video. Before that, I went ahead and copied also whatever you see right here is an image. If I just really quickly show it to you, this is an image. If you hover over it and if you click here, this is an image. And we've got a set of different images, and this is also an image, but we've got additional image here also, which is the ideal state, which is this. For example, if I'm not hovering over anything, I see an ideal state, which is this. But if I hover, our image shows right over there. This is what we are going to create, and this is what we have in today's video. Without any further delay, let's get right into the video. I have my code editor here. I'll quickly open this, and this is what we have right now. Let's get right into it. I'm going to create a div, and I'm going to create a container so that you can also see. Height, I'm going to give it 120. Width can be 96, and you'll see what I'm talking about. This is our playing area. We are going to align all of our images right over here. And if you go to this public folder, I've got all the images right over here. So public 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one idle, which is the idle state image. And one is the main image, which is this, which you see over here, this one. All of the images are there with us. Let's get right into the code. I'll remove this for now. And I have our container, which we want to work with. And first we are going to have our main image. I'm going to use an image tag. Width is going to be 1000. Height is going to be 1000. Source is going to be main.jpg. Alt is going to be hero main image. Finally, we want to have a class name, and we are going to position it absolute relative to the container. For that, I'll have to mark it as relative, and I will make this image absolute. Inset y0, which is top 0, bottom 0, left 0, h120, which if I make it h full, that will be fine as well, width 40, object contain. So this is what we have, and this is our image right over here, which we wanted. Let's now go ahead and create our rest of the images as well. First, I'll create the images so that you see the layout, and then I'm going to create an array out of it so that we can loop over it, so as to we can also animate it later down the road. Again, now we have the rest of the images with us. For that, I'm going to create a div. Class name would be absolute minus bottom 2, z20, h120, width 40. What else? All right, this is fine. Inside of it, I'm going to have an image. Width would be 1000, height is going to be 1000, source is going to be /1.jpg. All right, alt is going to be thumbnail for now, and we are going to pass in a class name here. Again, absolute, inset 0 so that it takes height full, h full. Aspect is going to be 9:16. If you have seen Instagram reels, that's the 9:16 aspect ratio, sort of vertical. Object contain, that is what we want, and that is pretty much it. So now if I save it, you see this is our first image right over here. I want to also have a lift attribute, and it is going to be 32 pixels, so that it is nicely on the right hand side of the image. That is what we exactly wanted. Now we want all of our images like that, but before that, I want to do one more thing. I want to have an, what do I call it, idle.jpg. Now if I remove this, you'll see we see the idle one, but if I uncomment it, you see this. So that is exactly what I want to do. So it'll be opacity 0 by default, and group hover would be opacity 100, transition opacity duration would be 500. Similarly, on hover, I want this to disappear, so it will be opacity 100, but on group hover, opacity would be 0, transition would be 500. So once I hover over it, you see what I'm talking about, right? This is exactly what we want. Maybe I can increase the opacity of it to be 200, so it is faster. But I played around with 500. That is pretty cool as well. Duration can be 200, group hover duration be 500. See? So the exit is a bit faster, but you get the point, right? That index can remain 30. I'm not sure, I'm just trying. This is fine as well. This can stay so that the background is not visible. This works. Now use the same background for everyone. Now I can go ahead and align all of these right next to each other. For example, if I have 64 pixels here, this can be 2. You see we get our next set of image right over here, 64 pixels. So now if I hover over it, you get the point, right? Different image, but I do not want to repeat myself. That is why I am going to get it out of here and create an array out of it. I'm going to call it hero items or hero cards, const hero cards. And I want to pass in some of the things here. First, active source is going to be 1.jpg. It is going to have a left attribute because I want to pass in left 32 pixels. That is fine. And similarly, I want to have few more, which I'm probably going to ask AI to do it for me. Format document. Because if you see, the last one is not opacity 0. By default, it is opacity 100. I want to do something about it. I'm going to maintain a state of show idle swap is going to be false. And class name would be transition opacity duration 300. Cool. So now I'm going to go ahead and map over these images. So instead of this, which is right over here, I want to do something else. I want to call it hero cards dot map, and it's going to be card index. Something I want to do here and return. Cool. This is what I want to return. Key is going to be card dot active source. Class name is going to be, and I'm going to wrap it in a CN. Basically whatever we had on the div, which I'm not able to find somehow. This, exactly this. Format this and is out. It's going to have card.left and card.class name. If no class name, it will be this. Fine. Inside of it, I want to show some of the images that we have already. But before that, I want to have a conditional, which is should swap. So should it swap or not? is dependent upon if it is the last item in the array or not. I'm going to do it here. Card dot show idle swap not equal to false, else something. Cool. Inside of this, I want these images which I had over here. So it is going to be these two images. I can get rid of this and I'm going to paste them here. This would be card.active source and this would be card.idle, which is already there. Otherwise, I'm just going to have an image of card.active source, which can be just this format. And if I refresh, not this, and I see this, which is exactly what I wanted. Instead, I'm going to do a bit of a thing here. Instead of opacity 100, so I'm going to redo it. Group hover opacity 0, transition opacity duration 500. So once I hover, so the last image is showing something. I want it to be opacity 100, transition opacity duration 500. So last image is visible. Some Z index problem might be there. So cards. Cool, we have this. What we ideally want to do here is we want to shift the rest of the blocks. For example, if I'm hovering over this, I want the next two blocks to shift. That is exactly what we are going to do. Before that, let me quickly fix what is the issue with this. It is not aligning and not able to see some part of it. I don't want this left from here. And I also don't want this left from here so that these are right. Okay, now I see it. Now if I hover, now this is exactly how I want it. We've got all the images. Last piece of the puzzle is once I hover over this item, the rest, for example, if I'm hovering over this, rest of the item should translate. That is exactly what I'm going to do. Before that, I need to have some mouse move on the card. This is what I need: on mouse move or on mouse enter. Set hovered index would be index, and on mouse leave set hovered index would be null. Now, hovered index is a state. Hovered index set hovered index is equal to use state number or null, and initially it would be null. Now, const should shift. Now, we need to figure out if the rest of the item should shift or not. So it has to be hovered index not equal to null and index greater than hovered index. That is when they should shift. And const shift amount would be should shift. It'll be 60, otherwise it would be 0. Now we have our shift amount. We can go to the divs, which is this, exactly this, and we can do transform should shift. It'll be translate x and it has to be shifted by shift amount pixels, otherwise it has to be undefined. Cool. So once I come back here, what is the problem? I have to mark it as use client. Awesome. Once I refresh, hover, it shift, hover, it shift, hover, it shifts. Exactly what I wanted, but instead I want to animate it. In order to animate it, I need to have transition somewhere. I don't know where, but probably here is fine. Transition transform duration can be 300. So once I hover, you see it transitions. Exactly what I wanted and it works as expected. Or maybe 200. All right, this works. Cool. This is what we wanted to build and this is what we have built. Okay, I think I'm missing some transform here, I guess. Or page, not here. Import is way better. Why is this not transforming? I'm not sure. It was the duration which was mismatched. Instead of this, I can probably... Okay, CN is fine. Duration has to be 300. So once I refresh... Oh man, what the... So it is class name. Get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this and this. So now if I have this, nothing lines up correctly. But if I card.left, it should line up and it should work. Also, I can pass in card.class name, otherwise empty string. So once I refresh, you see, what is the problem? I think two transforms are irritating it maybe. So I'll just get rid of this. This is fine. This works. Now, if you see here, there is no depth, but if you see here, there is a bit of depth. That is because this black vertical bar going from top to bottom, I'll show you in a bit. If I go here and I'll write div class name would be h full bg black absolute top 0 left 0, and you see I give it a background color of bg red 500. What is the problem? H full W4. You see these red blocks, exactly what I want. Can be Z50 and it can be left 4 or 2. And top can be 4 and 6 is fine. And these blocks, instead of BG red 500, I'm going to make it BG black. And just to give it a bit of depth, I'm going to do blur MD. Now you see they are a little blurred out. It gives a bit of depth to the cards. And that is what, attention to detail actually is. You have to make them look that they are actually stacked. This is what we have. I also want to have a mask going on here. So it'll be mask B from 10%. And this is how you get this card animation, which already works super sleek, man. I really love this. Last piece of the puzzle is the text that we want to have. And for that, I'm going to do simply a linear gradient. First class name would be, and I'm going to pass in CN from the get-go. It is going to be text 5XL font, bold, tracking, tight, absolute, top, 1/2 minus translate, Y 1/2, left 1/2 minus translate, X 1/2, so that you can see I'm going to also put in text white. And you see we have nothing. Z50, still nothing because we don't have anything inside of the text or inside of the H1 tags. We're going to fix that in a bit. I'm going to write inspired by the pros made for you. So this is what we get on top of it. And this, if you see, if I hover over to this card, you see, from the middle, it fades off. Now, in this fade.com's website, this is an SVG, but we can do it with text as well. I'm going to give it a linear gradient in a bit. So, hovered index not equal to null. We are going to do something. Otherwise, we are going to do something. All right. But before that, we don't want text white. Instead, we want BG clip text and text transparent. PY can be 4, that is fine. Cool, I'll just quickly format. If we are not hovering over, we need BG, or we can do it here. Linear gradient to right, white, white, so that it is totally white. But if we are hovering over, we need a separate linear gradient, and that would be linear gradient to right. Now pay attention, I want Y to be 0%, then RGBA, and this is also white color, but we can control the opacity, which is going to be 0, that is transparent till 30%. Then RGBA 255, 255, 255, 0. Again, we need transparent till 60%. So the middle part, we need it to be blank. After that, we need RGBA 255, 255, 255, 0.2, and this is still 80%. Rest can be white. Now, if I'm hovering over, you see from the center, it is fade out. But if I hover over this, it is not. See, super easy to do. Super nice, super nice, super nice, super nice. Only thing is you cannot really interpolate CSS when you hover. So you can't get transition into it. If you want to have transition, you'll have to duplicate this entire thing and make one for the hovered state and the other for the not hovered state. You can do it by, so I think I've done it before. Hovered index not equal to null. Otherwise do this. So this, otherwise this. So hovered index not equals to null. I want this. Otherwise, simply want this. And you can have transition on top of it. So you can do something like transition all duration for 300. Same here, transition all duration 300. Not sure even if it is doing it, but let's see. I could have done opacity 0, opacity 1, but I have to convert it to a motion H1 then. I think I can do it. Motion from motion react, and I can wrap it and animate presence. This goes right here. Animate presence is fine. This will be motion.h1. Initial opacity 0, y is not required. Animate opacity 1, exit opacity 0. Similar to this, I want to have initial animate and exit. Why is it not animating, man? Let me ask AI. ये तो कर ही सकता है. It is not animating. Opacity on hover, fix it. Let us see. There might be some conflict, yes. Because 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, both are 0, 1, 0. Why did it the size of it? If let's see, is there some width? Okay, it animates based on is hovered. Okay, they have passed in a key, that is fine. Width full. I don't want to mark it as relative at all. I wanted this to be absolute. Now it animates, but the second one is not there at all. Where is it? Okay, it is there, but I don't see it. Okay, gradient solid, opacity 0, opacity 1, it can be 3. Z index is already has to be 100 all the time. I don't know what's happening, man. I can get rid of this. Is my gradient wrong? Width full, because of width full, is it wrong? I might have to redo it instead of this. So you get the point, right? It's my time lagta hai yaar. Shall invent exit. Okay, my higher gradient is somehow. I want to redo everything, man, that I did. Okay, so we had this. Yes, now my gradient is fine because it is sitting outside. You can call it motion dot h1 key gradient or key solid style, or I can just have two motion tags. No, I don't even want this. Not this. Not this. Const is hovered. So animate. Opacity is hovered. Okay. Opacity 1. See? But I did it the wrong way. It has to be 1. It has to be 0. And it has to be 0. It has to be 1. So now if I refresh, hover, you see, it animates. So basically we have to duplicate, which I'm not a great fan of. But if you do this, you'll be able to get exact same animation. The fade is really nice. Key is to have a linear gradient, which goes from again to transparent and then finally to white, so that you get this faded look, sort of text going into the images and emerging out of it. That is the effect that you get. Super nice, super slick. And this was it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want me to explore some other websites which you like, do drop in the comments and I'll be happy to recreate them in my next set of videos. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. तब तक के लिए भाई जय हिंद. बहुत काम करो, बहुत मेहनत करो. नेक्स्ट वीडियो में मिलता हूँ.